in non-fatal shootings, and that, of course, is 23% down on the historical reduction from last year. Today, you see with me, I have our police commissioner, Rich Worley, our director of MOED, Mackenzie Garvin, our director of MEMA, Catalina Rodriguez, and City Council President Mosby, and the Comptroller may be joining us. Once again, I think we have to realize that this is significant progress that we will work to maintain every day. Some of you may have seen in the banner reporting last night that thanks to the hard work of the BPD detectives, we were able to identify a group of 20 young people who have been since tied to more than 50 incidents of violent crimes, which equates to more than 100 charges. All of these young people were linked to a single location in West Baltimore, which clearly served as some sort of home base or hangout for them as they repeatedly committed carjackings and robberies. Many of them are tied to numerous, not just a few, but many incidents of crime. Some are linked to as many as 22 cases, 20 cases, and 17 specific cases. The locations of their crimes span 7 out of our 9 police districts. It is clear that this group of young people were determined to do whatever they wanted, no matter what. I have to commend BPD's work in mapping all of these crimes, being able to piece together how they're connected, and bringing them to justice over a months-long operation. They use a lot of tools to do so: intelligence sharing, video footage, social media, working with partners across jurisdiction, and even taking lessons from our GVRS strategy about how to map these social groups perpetrating crimes that are not linked to official gangs. But again, this speaks to the frustration that you've heard myself, the police commissioner, express from this podium for a long time now. We are seeing the same young people over and over again because quite frankly, it's allowed by other parts of the justice system to continue because they are not being completely held accountable by the system or the courts. My message, however, to these young people and all young people who may be thinking or committing these kind of acts right now, there is a better way. If you make a mistake, we want to help you get right back on the right path. But when you are showcasing the way that these young people have been showcasing, talking about, and continuing to carry out these acts with no regard for the law or for the lives or livelihoods of our neighbors, you will be held accountable and face the full extent of the law. I think the scope of this takedown shows that despite a narrative pushed by some, that Commissioner Worley and BPD are in fact focus on tackling issues like carjackings, auto thefts, and robberies, and they continue to work on that day in and day out. I know that our partner in the State's Attorney Bates, will have more to say later today on the charges that these young people will face. I wanted to take this opportunity, however, to commend Commissioner Worley and the great work of our citywide robbery unit, all of the patrol districts, but specifically Western, Southeast, Central, and Southern, the Western District Action Team, the Regional Auto Thefts Task Force, and the Mobile Metro Unit. With that, I want to turn back towards what remains at the top of everyone's mind here in Baltimore, and that's our ongoing response to the Key Bridge collapse. I've talked a lot about this, particularly at our daily press briefings with the governor and the team from the Unified Command, about our promise to the families of those who lost loved ones, to every single impacted victim of this tragedy. I know that everyone in our partners, from Governor Moore to our congressional delegation to the president and the vice president to my counterparts in County Executive Olszewski and Pittman, share that same commitment. Just this week, I had the opportunity to meet with both members of ILA Local 333, the hardest workers who are going to be hit the hardest by the shutdowns at the port, and with business owners who are impacted. We know the road ahead for everyone looks extremely difficult. But as I told those workers and the businesses, both the same thing. We are going to be here, and we're going to help manage the fallout in every way that we can. To that end, today at BOE, we move one very important piece of economic support for our community. I'm very grateful that the board approved my request to divert $1 million towards wage subsidies for workforces at businesses impacted by the port closure. We'll be working with the Baltimore Civic Fund, which operated a small business wage subsidy during COVID, and this funding will closely resemble that effort. I want to be clear that this money is just an initial move. It is not nearly enough to cover all the businesses or the workers who will be impacted, but it is an important first step and one that we had the ability to move quickly through this first BOE. As we move into the coming days, we will be talking about more assistance that the city of Baltimore can offer, but we wanted to ensure that we are moving everything in conjunction with our partners at the federal, state, and at our local levels. We need to do all of this together for the benefit of those families who are impacted. They deserve a streamlined, consistent, and clear response, and that is what we're aiming for. The coordination has been remarkable. In my now 17 years in city government, I can sincerely say I've never seen anything like it, and it's a testament to the team that we have in leadership across our state, across our federal government, and our neighboring jurisdictions, and the relationship and true partnership that we all share. With those, without those, this would be a much less smooth process, and Baltimoreans and Marylanders wouldn't have been able to afford this part of this process not working smoothly. So that is to say, once again, thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Comptroller and the rest of the board for approving this $1 million support for workers, and please stay tuned for more announcements in the future. With that, we'll go to questions.
Okay, let's start with Emily from the Sun.
Sorry, just 1 second. So there was also the fundraising approval that was for MEMA today. Is there a goal for how much MEMA hopes to raise?
Well, I'll let Director Rodriguez Lima talk about that, but what I can say that it already has almost $500,000 in the fund, and I know the director has been doing great work working directly with those families that have impacted, and will continue that.
Thank you for your question. We do not have a goal. However, the fund is closing on May 31st, 2024. At the moment, we're trying to meet immediate needs, and those needs evolve from week to week, and so we'll determine a time frame as to when those funds will be distributed. But the fund does close on May 31st, 2024.
And can you just explain the difference between the $1 million that was moved to the Civic Fund and what that money is going to be used for?
Yeah, listen, and I'll let Director Garvin come up. This wage subsidy is going to go towards the businesses. We have a program where we had that through COVID, where we were offering support to the businesses to allow them to keep workers on and keep them paid while the work was disrupted. And I'll let the director go into more detail. Ma'am?
Good afternoon. I'm Matt Garvin. I'm the director of the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. And like the mayor said, there's a difference between the two funds. This fund is targeted directly for the workers and the businesses that are impacted by the Key Bridge collapse. We intend to mirror this after a subsidy that was created using ARPA funding, and this will allow businesses to be able to subsidize a portion of the wages for their workers and allow them to remain attached to their employment.
Do they have to be based in Baltimore, or the employees Baltimore residents?
The employees need to be Baltimore City residents.
Just wanted to clarify, the comptroller just told me that you also expect this $1 million to be reimbursed by the federal government. Is that accurate?
I think that we'll see. I think, Tali, once we get to that phase where we're looking at the federal government and the support that's coming in and what the city can recoup and what we can't, we'll go through that. But right now, I think it's important. And again, this is just our initial wave of support for us to do that as quickly as possible, and that's what we did today.
Quick follow-up. Mayoral candidate Drew has sent out a press release and is holding a presser. He says he has video that shows that you ordered PGE protesters to be arrested when they were protesting. What's your response to that?
There's no video of me, and I don't respond to reckless claims.
Going back to the DPD announcement, I know that you're scheduled to be at the news conference later this afternoon with the state's attorney to talk about
So, Mackenzie, actually, I will not be at the press announcement later today, which is why I wanted to make sure that I let my folks know that work for me, BPD, and also, as you know, this is a way that this news was broken yesterday, so that we can make sure that folks heard from me directly. That's it. And we'll continue to work with the state attorney's office as we do every day.
Okay, and going back to making sure that these young people are held accountable, have you had conversations with the Department of Juvenile Services to ensure that their charges actually come to fruition and make sure that that accountability measure is there?
Listen, I have conversations with everybody, including the DJS director, about how we have to fix those broken systems that you and I have been talking about for longer than the governor's been in office and longer than the DJS secretary has been there. And we know that the General Assembly is working, as you know, right now, not just to pass the state budget, but to get reforms to those systems passed so that us at the local level can have a more sense of not just clarity, but a surety that those things will happen.
What about this specific instance?
This is about all of them. I talked to the secretary about all of it. We want everybody that's committing these acts that get arrested to be held accountable. Not just this group, not just the last group, not just the next group of folks that we'll take down. Everybody.
So he knows about this?
So I'll say again, Mackenzie, very clearly. Every time, and you know this process, when young people are arrested, the Department of Juvenile Services is notified. So they know about every single arrest of a young person because that's the law of the state of Maryland.
Go back to Emma House.
My question is for Nima, if I could. During the BOE, we heard quite a list of things that fundraising can be used for. I'm wondering, with as much respect to the family's privacy as possible, if you could speak a little bit to what their most immediate needs are right now, and what that really immediate response is like, especially since, we are still waiting.
Yeah. We certainly want to respect the privacy of the families. I think they're going through a very traumatic event. Some of the immediate needs, as you can imagine, is utility bills. Many of those who passed away were head of households, so they do need funding for, rent, mortgage, utility bills, and whatnot. I think the second immediate need, as you can imagine, is funeral costs. And something that we are doing as an office is coordinating with our partners in multiple jurisdictions to determine if additional funding is available so that we can preserve the money raised for the families as much as possible.
Just a quick follow-up to that. I know Baltimore County has a similar immigration affairs office counterpart. I was wondering if you could speak at all as to how you're coordinating with them for this effort.
Yeah, we work very closely with the county, my counterpart Juliana, and I think that's what has made the response to this crisis so effective, that we have the existing infrastructures in place during crisis and also not during crisis, right? And it's dedicated to support the well-being of immigrants.
Over here to Emma.
I have sort of a follow-up to Tali's question. I reviewed some of the footage from that, and you are not in it. There is a conversation with Police Lieutenant and Councilman Eric Costello, who was at the scene. He tells the police lieutenant that he spoke with you, and I'm quoting Costello here. The mayor said he's sending out a team from Muncie to tell the people to move or suffer the consequences. I'm just wondering if you can explain, if you recall that side of the conversation with Councilman Costello and the decisions you made that day.
I do not, but we, as always with protests, we often send folks to try to have conversations because we believe in people's right to protest.
Got it. And then just a quick other question. I'm wondering if you could comment on the cancellation of I believe it was an ARPA grant with the Pride Center of Maryland.
Listen, we take our responsibility to make sure that these federal dollars that were entrusted to us and myself on behalf of the citizens of Baltimore from the President of these United States very seriously. And we know that Director Kearney, being a former federal auditor, also takes that very seriously. And we know that they offered curing and often different opportunities to rectify these things. And unfortunately, for this particular grant, those things were not met. And we'll continue to support the Pride Center on the other things that we work with them on, and we'll always do that.
Julie, if you could introduce yourself.
I'm Julia Jesser with
some language, for example, in the Port Act that prevents double dipping into funds and, you know, has people pay loans back if they do so. I was wondering how this works with the SBA loans that businesses can apply for.
This particular subsidy is going to be paid to employers to pay wages for employers. And so we're working with our partners from the Department of Labor and the Department of Commerce to let them know about this subsidy. At this time, we don't anticipate that there should be any challenges because this is going towards an individual's wage to top them off of their wage. The goal is to keep them from being separated from their employment, to keep them from going on to UI benefits. There is discussions around that legislation. There's discussions with USDOL regarding whether or not individuals will be able to receive additional income similar to during the pandemic times when UI was expanded, and those discussions are happening right now.
So businesses can apply for SBA loan and access this?
Yes.
And then my question for the mayor is, I know, we've heard a lot of positivity about the salvage operation. Unified Command has been in close communication. It's kind of a case example on how to do something like this. Is there anything that is needed at this moment? Anything that you don't have access to, resources, equipment, funding, that you would like to make a call out for? Is there anything missing?
Right now, no. As the president said, he's going to move heaven and earth to help Baltimore, and they've been doing that each and every day. But I think I have to reiterate what you hear from myself, the governor, that team, every single day. This is going to be a long road, and there will come a time where we'll need other things. But right now, they have the resources. They have the best team on the planet in Baltimore, on that water, in offices, working to see how we can clear that channel, get the port back open, bring home the remaining victims to their families as the most important thing, to have them have closure and allow these folks to be able to stay employed and help the economy, not just in the city and the state, but the country. Thank you, everybody.
WJZ or WMAR in the back?
Thank you.
Everybody.